Hey guys, welcome to the MMA Brothers podcast, the newest, baddest, and best podcast out there. And let's get it going. Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast. It's the MMA Brothers here. My name is Daryl.
This is Asher here.
And today, seeing as there's no fights this weekend, we bring to you a weekly roundup of the news over the past few days. We're going to start off with who we think Jon Jones' next opponent is going to be and why, followed by Darren Till's next opponent, who he will be and why. Following up with Ben Askren's retirement, George Masvidal's proposed fight against Nick Diaz, Nick's brother, and Adesanya's next opponent. Now, we're going to start off with Jon Jones. Jon Jones is being offered Corey Anderson, Jan Blachowicz, and Dominic Reyes.
Yeah.
I think Dominic gets the edge there just because he's undefeated in the light heavyweight division. I mean, he usually knocks people out, right?
Yeah, he's undefeated. I think his record is like 12-0, 13-0, something like that. And he is pretty good. Like he's very, very good in the first round. I don't know what he's like when it comes to 3 rounds because he did fight Volkan Ozdemir, and that fight was a little close, and a lot of people thought that Dominic Reyes actually lost that fight. So in terms of if the fight goes really long, I don't really see Dominic Reyes having a chance to beat Jon Jones. And I agree with Daryl. Yeah,
He's 12-0.
I agree with Daryl. I would say Dominic Reyes is probably the likely suspect to fight Jon Jones next. You know, Jan Blachowicz, that last performance.
Oh my God, I was falling asleep midway through the fight.
Yeah, and he called out Jon Jones after the fight too. Jon Jones, I think, tweeted something being like, "Buddy, you're not even close." Like,
yeah, from the standpoint of just like interest in the fight, I like Jan. He's a good fighter. His last fight against Luke Rockhold really, drew me even closer to him. But, his performance against Jacare mostly was just grappling with not too many hands thrown. And yes, if you're an MMA purist, you enjoyed that fight from the standpoint of looking at clinching, is the underhook, overhook, how's he dropping to take down single, double, watching that type of stuff. But in terms of general, pure excitement and raw excitement about just fights, no. He did not bring me to that fight whatsoever.
And then there's Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson, he beat Johnny
God.
Walker in the first round, which was so shocking. And he was screaming, making all this noise that he wants to fight Jon Jones next.
He's being really disrespectful to Johnny Walker, imitating his thing, dancing.
Telling Dana White that he's like, yo, you release me if you're not going to give me a title shot. I'm like, yo, Corey!
What happens if they continue to overlook you and they give it to Reyes and then they look for another contender instead of yourself?
Release me. If you don't want to give me what I've earned, let me go. I'm hot. I prove my worth. I'll go somewhere where somebody's going to respect me.
Honestly, I don't know if it's just me, guys, but I don't like Corey Anderson. He bores me to sleep.
His fights are so bad, man.
He's not a dominant fighter. He's not like a Khabib where he's going to take you down and maul you the whole time.
Yeah.
He got one lucky shot against Johnny Walker because he's an unorthodox striker, so he left himself open for a second and got popped. And then after that, he was pretty much scrambling. But I don't see Corey Anderson getting a title shot just based off the fact that no one really likes him. I'm sorry.
He has literally no name recognition. Don't get me wrong, he's on a good win streak now. He's won a few of his last fights, which is great. But yeah, whatever. So no to Corey Anderson, no to Jan Blachowicz, and we are both agreeing that it's going to be Dominic Reyes next. So what's gonna happen now? This is Jon Jones is calling Dominic Reyes for a fight. Take a listen.
Hey, pussy, are you still there? I'm here.
Right. So that's news story number 1 out of 5. So we're gonna move on to the next one, and the next news story is Darren Till's next opponent.
And the thing I love about Darren Till is personally he's one of my favorite fighters, Liverpool lad. Is he just says what he wants. He doesn't really care, right?
Who does the gorilla want next?
Everyone and anyone, I don't care. I'm not scared. I'm just...
He's not scared. He doesn't care. Yeah, I mean, I think his next fight is going to be against Adesanya or Robert Whittaker or Romero. I think those are the top 3 because Costa's out.
Or Jared Cannonier.
Jared Cannonier, I think, Jared is not a number 1 contender right now. It's between Robert Whittaker and Darren Till, just based off hype of fights. Because Whitaker does not deserve a rematch, like an immediate rematch, because one, he's been injury prone for so long. You don't want another injury prone champ up there. Second of all, with Whitaker, if he goes out there and fights Darren Till, who's a bigger name than Jared Cannonier, as of right now, right? It's a bigger fight. So I think just based off pure hype of the fight, Cannonier is not gonna sell versus Till more than Whitaker versus Till. Just based off, there's a whole of Australia and New Zealand that's going to be behind Robert Whitaker. More pay-per-view buys that way. Cannonier, he's good. Like, don't get me wrong. I think he gives everyone a huge puzzle to solve because he hits like a truck. His leg kicks are tremendous. He's a good wrestler, right? So I think Darren Till, his next opponent, should be Robert Whitaker for the reasons I just mentioned.
Yeah, I don't think Darren Till is close to a title shot right now. To be honest, I was not very impressed by his performance against Kelvin Gastelum. I know Kelvin Gastelum has nice hands.
Why?
But yeah, Darren Till was just very cautious the whole fight. Like both sides, like very few strikes landed on either side. Like a lot of leg kicks thrown, and Darren Till I think landed more strikes compared to Kevin Gastelum's. But like based off that performance, like nobody's talking title shot for Darren Till.
Yeah, but listen, no. But the thing you need to realize is he nullified his strong suits. He nullified.
Yeah, but like it's not like Darren Till was like dominant in the fight. You know what I mean?
Yes, he was.
He just Gastelum was
leg kicks. No. Listen, Gastelum was pushing forward.
Okay.
Right. And Darren Till was chopping on his lead leg.
Yeah.
Because all Gastelum wants is to close the distance, get you within boxing range, and then do damage. Outside of boxing range, he's going to shoot for a double leg or a single, and then you defend that he's useless.
Were you impressed by the performance?
Yes, I was.
Okay,
He's in there against someone who's knocked out how many of his last opponents, won 5 rounds with Adesanya, almost KO'd Adesanya numerous times during the fight, right? Anyways. Why would you want to go there and go gang bang and do the same thing?
I'm not saying gang bang. I'm just saying that it wasn't that exciting of a fight. I think most people would agree with that.
No, I thought it was exciting of a fight. Darren Till cracked him with a few shots. His leg was chewed up.
Yeah, just a few. You know what I mean? For a 3-round fight, 15 minutes of just a few. Like, anyways, that's not the point. The point is who's next for Darren Till. So we have either Jared Cannonier or Robert Whitaker. Those are two people that have actually been, on good win streaks. Obviously, Robert Whitaker lost to Adesanya. But out of those two, I would like to see Darren Till versus Robert Whitaker. I think Robert Whitaker would be a good fight for him. And if he can get past Robert Whitaker, who's only lost at the 185 division to Israel Adesanya, then Darren Till will be ready to go. That's for sure. He'll be guns blazing. And Jared Cannonier, I'm not sure who you can set him up with, but he should be next in line once Paulo Costa is done facing the winner.
Yeah, I think Paulo Costa versus Cannonier is a very good fight. When Costa's healthy, he should go against Cannonier, and the winner of that fight will fight the winner of Adesanya versus whoever these two fight. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And another thing is the trash talk is going to be super interesting, relative terms with Till versus Robert Whitaker, because Robert Whitaker's like, I don't care, and then this is probably going to be Darren Till's response to that.
Be careful. I have nothing against Edward. Oh, whoa. Careful. What you gonna do? Oh, whoa. You gonna do something over there? Be careful. Shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah. So on that note, we're gonna move on to Ben Askren's retirement.
Yeah.
And this is for my guy. I'm a huge Ben Askren fan, and I just love when he comes out to this walkout music.
You gotta love Ben, man.
Funky Ben.
It's pretty sad that he's retired because, for those people that don't know, Ben Askren is actually somebody that competed in ONE FC and in Bellator, I believe, and he was a champion in both those organizations. I think he was a champion in 2 different weight classes as well. Came to the UFC undefeated, and he was a big deal. And so
he was a champion every single MMA, like UFC, Bellator, ONE FC, like that.
Yeah, every organization he joined, he was a champion. So the one organization that he hadn't dominated, obviously, was the UFC because he didn't have a chance. He had beef with Dana White, and they didn't get along in the beginning. Dana White actually used to say some things that Ben Askren was trash and that he would be terrible in the UFC. And with his 3 fights in the UFC, obviously there was controversy with the fight with Robbie Lawler because Robbie Lawler was piecing him beating him up on the ground with the ground and pound, and some referees could have actually stopped the fight, but Herb Dean let it continue, and Ben Askren was able to take down Robbie Lawler and then submit him. Technically, not really, because Herb Dean thought he was out because his arm went limp, but then he ended up giving a thumbs up and stuff. But
yeah, I still think he
Askren
won. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
The referee was telling him, yeah, he gave the thumbs up, then the arm dropped and went limp.
Yeah.
Right? As a referee, your first instinct is to protect the fighter.
Yeah.
Early stoppage and no early stoppage. Don't get yourself in a bulldog choke and the point where you can't do anything but just ride out till the guy's arms get tired.
I agree.
Right? So don't get yourself in that position, then there isn't a reason for the ref to call it.
So anyways, there was a controversial first win, and then we all know what happened with Jorge Masvidal with that 5-second knockout. That was pretty brutal, and not a lot of people saw that happening. And then he fought Damian Maia, and that fight was okay. It was a grappling match, and it was actually an exciting grappling match, not like the Jacare Jan Blachowicz fight.
The hands were trash, but they were doing some
The
damage.
boxing and the kicking was pretty amateur. Well, they're professionals. I can't say it's amateur, but it was not the best striking match. I gotta tell you that. But I want to play a clip for you right here. This is when Ben Askren was in a press conference for UFC 235 when he was fighting up against Robbie Lawler before he had his first fight in the UFC. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Okay, so can you imagine like a 75-year-old Dana sitting there? Do you smoke cigars, drink whiskey? You do something probably, right? No. Hey, okay, well imagine you're smoking a cigar, sitting here for 75 thinking, you remember when those guys thought Askren was going to come here and then I got his ass kicked 3 times? Like, I can just picture that in my head. That's like so funny. And like, that's probably what I would do if I was in your situation. I'd laugh
You and
about
Woodley must hang out a lot.
That's funny though. Think about that. That's a funny picture. And then...
Isn't that crazy? That he said that, and then like he pretty much got his ass kicked in 3 fights in a row.
He didn't get his ass kicked in 3 fights.
Well, Robbie Lawler,
in my opinion,
really
if you run the fight back with Jorge Masvidal 100 times, that flying knee happens maybe 3 times, maybe even once.
Yeah.
And the rest of the fight, judging by what Masvidal did to Nate Diaz, it might have been better outcome than one flying knee than those shots that Nate had to eat for 3 rounds, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it would have been he would have stood a chance against Jorge just based off his unconventional style of moving forward and not caring. But it is sad to see him go and retire. But we're going to move on.
Yeah. We're going to move on to the next one.
Masvidal versus Nick Diaz. So, in this one, I don't really see a point in the fight other than the BMF belt. But Jorge needs to go fight for a title, in my opinion. He needs to get the winner of Colby versus Usman, because if Usman wins and Colby loses, the Colby hype train is finally dead in his strikes. I hate that guy. I know it's a gimmick. I know he's trying to get under these people's skin just to sell fights and whatnot, but man, like, he's genuinely annoying. Like, you just want to hurt him. Like, I want to hurt him. Obviously, he beat me up, but you know what I mean? Just seeing him, the MAGA stuff, he's a
brutal guy.
He's a pretty brutal guy to listen to, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah, so with regards to this Masvidal Nick Diaz situation, so we all know that Masvidal beat the crap out of Nate Diaz in the previous pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden in November. And yeah, so Nick Diaz had an interview with Ariel Helwani, and Ariel was asking him questions about the fight, about the BMF belt, asking him about his career, and, you know, just where if he was going to fight again. And pretty much in summary, Nick Diaz was saying that, like, oh, you know, Jorge Masvidal was saying stuff like he's going to baptize my little brother. You don't talk about my little brother that way. You know, he says he's a real BMF and not Jorge Masvidal. And he said he's willing to come back and fight Jorge Masvidal for the BMF belt and, you know, redeem his brother's loss. And
yeah, but you don't want your big brother going in and fighting for you at 30-something, man. Come on.
And you know, Nate Diaz is always like, whatever, Stockton, man. Blah blah blah, and Nate Diaz always says like, oh yeah, Nick Diaz army, blah blah blah. But Jorge Masvidal is a beast, bro. I don't know, like, you don't want to mess with that.
He's a different guy now, man. I wouldn't want anyone to get in the ring with him because his boxing is crisp. He's a very solid wrestler. I mean, there's
getting the 3-piece With the soda.
Yeah, you give me the 3-piece with the soda. It can be from KFC, Popeyes, Mary Brown's.
He doesn't
wherever you
care.
want.
He doesn't discriminate. He will give it to you.
Exactly.
So all I gotta say for this one is just that
I'd rather him see him fight.
Nick Diaz hasn't fought in a long time. I know Nate Diaz took a 3-year break from the McGregor fights, and he came back and he beat the crap out of Anthony Pettis. So technically speaking, ring rust, some fighters say it's not real. But if Nick Diaz is going to come back and fight Jorge, that's a different animal. But anyways, moving on to the next one. And the last topic we have for today is Adesanya's next opponent. Now, we had mentioned, obviously, a few challengers at 185. The Cannoniers, the Darren Tills, and Romero. And Kevin Gastelum lost, so he wouldn't be in the running to fight Adesanya. He's lost 2 in a row. Now, Adesanya has had a few interviews and he's come out and he said that he wants to fight Yoel Romero next. Now, Yoel Romero, technically, I think he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He lost to Robert Whittaker twice, and he also lost to Paulo Costa, but all his fights have been really, really close. And I think everybody would be really, really excited to see Yoel Romero versus Israel Adesanya, because Romero has good boxing and good Muay Thai, and he's a former Olympic wrestler, which would be a huge challenge for Adesanya because he keeps his feet steady.
Yeah. You're going on about Romero. It's okay, buddy.
Wait,
let's hear a little bit about Izzy.
Any idea who you'd like to share this octagon with next, and how soon would you like to get back in here?
Well, you heard me. I said middleweights. I'm the new dog in the yard. And I just all over this cage.
Oh, man. Hey, Dana. Give me the fucking boy.
That's what we're talking about, Romero. Let's go.
Then he's going to hit him with this one, too. So that one, I think that's pretty clear-cut who everyone wants to see fight Adesanya next. I mean, as we said before, Cannonier, he's the dark horse in the division. Dark horses usually don't get a chance unless no one else is available. Darren Till versus Adesanya sells, but I don't think Till's ready for that. He needs one more tune-up fight before he goes to fight someone the caliber of Adesanya. So Romero is the next most likely thing. He's had 3 fights, as Asher mentioned, that you could have given to him his last 3 losses. So it would be really interesting to see Romero versus Adesanya from the standpoint if he gets blasted with a double leg or he just blitzes him the way Whittaker was doing, but he throws left and rights. Whittaker was more leaping, doing overhand rights that you could see, right, looping overhands. Romero will shoot for a double leg and then hit you with the, left hand over the top of your guard, right?
Yeah.
And he's just an interesting guy. Cuban, he plays some nice music when he's coming in. He's built like, I don't know, like
he's
a
43
god.
years
He's
old.
43.
That's
he has
crazy.
no neck. He's got...
This guy's been an athlete for like his whole life. It's crazy. The fact that he's still competing for championships at 43 is just God. But anyways, guys,
we'll wrap it up
We'll
here.
start to wrap it up.
So let us know who you guys think should be fighting the guys who we talked about, what you think about Ben Askren's retirement. And we hope to hear from you guys soon. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. And
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing for me as well. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram is MMA Brothers Pod. That's MMA Brothers POD. Give us a follow. And engage with us and hit us up. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll hit you with another MMA news because we're not expecting a UFC pay-per-view or a UFC fight night until December 7th. So we're going to expect another one coming.
Yeah, and this is what I'm going to leave you with. Remember, if you guys like and subscribe, I'll feel the same way as Romero does about Mike Bisping. There it is.
See you guys. Bye.